that recently we developed a, we have about 70 odd congregation programs going on in Mumbai. Uh, it was all spontaneous, but now we want to put in place certain way of doing things. So we developed what is called as a congregation development department, CDD. And then we decided, okay, we have to create a mood which will give them the experience of coming to the temple, ISKCON temple, even when they go in the uh, preaching programs. So for last about 4.5 months, this is last year, about 4.5 months, six of us, three grahasthas and three brahmacharis, we were doing a lot of churning 2 times a week. We used to have a conference call to discuss uh, what has His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj done here at Radha Gopinath Mandir based on the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. What are certain foundational principles that he has applied in a very effective way, because of which it is what it is today. So we did that churning for about 4.5 months. And then we made like a Excel sheet of all the points. And then we gave it to a group of brahmacharis who are like hi-fi, IIT guys who are very good in, uh, presentations. So I said, you make it into a nice presentation. And these people made it into a very amazing presentation with certain analogies. And when it was brought to us, and when I looked at it, it was like, you know, the eureka experience that Archimedes must have felt in his bathtub when he understood the principle of buoyancy. He also jumped out of the bathtub without realizing he was covered by the four directions only. So I felt the same experience, that wow, amazing thing. So I realized when there is cooperation and coordination between experience and expertise. So here are devotees with experience of many years, and here are people with expertise. And that combination brought out an amazing realization on my part, which I would like to share here. So that presentation was in the form of a PPT, and the comparison was made to a house. And we have all been hearing for practically years together that Prabhupada built a house in which the whole world can live. It is nice. It's very allegorical or metaphorical kind of a, and everyone understands that. But then, for me, it was just a nice analogy or nice metaphor that, wow, he built a house in which the whole world can live. But when this thing was brought up to me, it made so much sense that how uh, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj at Radha Gopinath Mandir, where by the inconceivable arrangement of Krishna and Srila Prabhupada, spent a substantial amount of time in the earlier years. And we, you know, those of us who happen to be there at the right place at the right time with the right kind of association, had the good fortune of seeing some things happening. And today, looking back, my appreciation not only was enhanced, but also I understood if we want to set up a community based on the principles of Krishna consciousness as propounded by Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, what should we actually emphasize on as individuals and also as leaders? So I would like to share that with you. So uh, the title of that presentation is He Built a House in which the whole world can live. So uh, for building a house, you need different parts of the house. First of all, you need to have a foundation, then you need to have a flooring, then you need wall, then you need the roof, then you need the doors and windows, and then you need rooms, things like that. So I will share with you how His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj built a house based on Srila Prabhupada's teachings, which could, house the whole world, which can be replicated anywhere and everywhere. So for a for any house, if anyone wants to build a house, the first thing is you have to dig the foundation, right? You have to construct a house, and depending on the number of floors, the foundation has to be so strong. So first thing you do is to dig the foundation. And interestingly, though foundation is the first thing that is started to make the house, the foundation is never seen after the house is built. Nobody ever sees the foundation. But the foundation continues to hold the building against all heavy storms that may come, all the powerful wind and gale that may come. So, similarly, what is this foundation? Srila Prabhupada writes in a letter to Tamopaha in 21st November 1974. He says, part of that letter, if the foundation is strong in chanting and hearing, then your Krishna consciousness is assured. So, what was that foundation that Maharaj set in here at our community, our temple? The foundation of strong individual and collective sadhana, hearing and chanting, and reading, obviously. This, I remember there is a quote, Maharaj was made a statement once. However great a devotee becomes in spiritual purification, he never dares to think that he is beyond the first step of hearing submissively. You know, so his personal example also, irrespective of his sickness, irrespective of having very late night programs, inevitably, even after several years, he makes it a point during chanting that he sits with all the brahmacharis. Sometimes whoever nearby grahasthas, they also join. But he makes it a point to chant his rounds along with the brahmacharis when we do immediately after the Mangalarti, when we sit down and chant. He personally sits there, you know, and the way he chants, intensely taking shelter of the holy name, is such a source of inspiration, which has been the foundation of all the brahmacharis also who would, uh, you know, try to follow in his footsteps. One time, he would personally take a brahmachari class in addition to morning Bhagavatam, only for sadhus. He said, like sadhus, you need to be very fixed up in Srila Prabhupada's books. And one time he made a statement. He said, for every 40 hours of reading Srila Prabhupada's books, we should read 20 minutes of other books are allowed. This was this is, I'm talking about 91, 92. But I have, even he said Srila Prabhupada's books for inspiration and others for information. You know, so our the Prabhupada's books are like mother's milk, and those who have had mother's milk, their immunity, especially today's corona days, this is very relevant. You know, if immunity is strong, then you will not be affected by the disease. So similarly, if we are regularly reading and hearing in the association Srila Prabhupada's books, he said, sickness will not come. So that was his thing. Prabhupada's books for inspiration and others for only information. So also I remember in the very early days, 91, 92, he would come whenever he would be here in India. Um, at that time, Govind Prabhu was his personal servant, a personal helping him, assisting him. So whenever he was just going to bed or relaxing for some time in between, he would tell Govind Prabhu, now you read Chaitanya Charitamrita or Bhagavatam for me. And he would be just lying down. So one time Govind Prabhu was sharing that after reading for almost like an hour, he saw that Maharaj was closing his eyes. So probably he felt he must have slept. So he slowly closed the book and got up and wanting to tiptoe out of the room, he was going out. And as he was just near the door, Maharaj, with his eyes closed, he said, why did you stop, Prabhu? Please continue. So immediately he came back and he was kind of reading. So if you see, if you have any of you have noticed or hear his lectures, Maharaj's lectures, he describes the pastimes so graphically as if you can actually picturize the whole thing in front of you. Not only that, even like Haridas Thakur's passing away, you know what Mahaprabhu said, what he replied, as if he's just reading the notes, word to word. And that's only because hours and hours, even when he was be busy and all that, and during other time when he was taking this oil thing, then he said, Govind Prabhu would ask them to read. So he has read the book so much and so many times. And that's why when he presents those philosophy, naturally people, most of our congregation, way back in the early 90s also, even though none of them had ever read fully Bhagavatam or CC, every pastime of CC they know fully in very intricate detail. The reason is just hearing, constant hearing. So that is something that he deeply set in our devotees at the community, the emphasis on hearing and chanting. Also collective hearing and chanting. One quote of Maharaj, he says, the association of devotees is the most precious and valuable thing in all of creation. You know, and not only does he emphasize that, but he has emphasized so much in our community the importance of hearing and chanting together. Our Bhagavatam class, whenever he used to be, he made it a point, whenever he was in town, Saturday and Sunday Bhagavatam he would give, and the hall would be packed. And the Bhagavatam class would go on for hours. We knew that. It will go on for hours. And he would say, so should I continue after 2.5 hours? And everyone would say, Hari Bol. Of course, we can't imitate, because one time another devotee, after speaking for half an hour extra, he asked, so should I continue? And every devotee said, no. So, because we can't imitate, but you know, but he kind of did that. Because he had invested so much of time for all of us, and the way he prepare and present. So even the Sunday feast class, when Bhakti Tirth Maharaj passed away, he spoke for 5 hours, whole life of Bhakti Tirth Maharaj. In one Pune Yatra, I remember one full class, which is about several hours, was dedicated to Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj when he had passed away. and one time for Jolly Swami, our Sridhar Maharaj. So like that, hours and hours, and see, and during our Chaitanya Gaur Purnimas and Janmashtami, speak for hours. We are all used to it, seasoned. In fact, if he stops at 3.5 hours, we would say, "Arey, aaj thoda jaldi khatam kar diya, Maharaj." People would come prepared. Of course, when there was fasting day, there is no anxiety. Other days they would come, eat and come and no. अभी चलेगा कितने देर चलेगा कुछ नहीं मालूम. Anytime, how long it will go, nobody knows. So even in Kartik Yatras, if you have seen the way you conduct the chanting, and even used to have earlier Pune Yatra, hearing chanting. So that would go on. And not only was he emphasizing on collective hearing and chanting, but even as a system, he facilitated anything. He put it as a top priority. Anything that would facilitate good hearing and chanting for all the devotees. So, if I don't know if you have ever heard him, he's so particular about sound system. In fact, I think in 91 itself, 91, 92, he set up a sound system department, even though there were hardly any other departments. But for sound system, he set up a department. He said only one person handling the sound system. He can be given one assistant who can learn, but nobody else will touch the sound system. And he wanted the best sound system in the market. One time he caught hold of the sound system in charge. He gave him his Vyaspuja money. He gave him, he said, by next week, I want the best sound system in the market. You know, and and I don't know if you have seen in Kartik Yatras, the first thing he asks, could everyone hear? Could everyone hear? Make sure that everyone is hearing properly. That's one of the reasons why in our Kartik Yatras nowadays, when there are about 5, 6, 7,000 people, even the sound system is such that wherever you are, you can hear. It is because of that emphasis on hearing and chanting. I remember one time there was a devotee was in charge of the sound system, and there were mics used to be passed on for questions. At that time we did not have wireless microphones. That time we had all wire microphones. So there were one side Mataji's, one side Prabhuji's. So many mics were there. So one time the mic was not working, and Maharaj looked at the sound system person as like Muchukunda, about to uh, burn that person to ashes. So he would be very annoyed if the sound system was not working. And really, that sound system, wala, his heart would be in his hands. Kya ho jayega bhai? I hope it doesn't stop. And after that, he would heave a sigh of relief. So one time, that mic was very bad. After the end of that whole thing, after question answer, everyone went out. Maharaj got up, caught hold of the ear of that devotee. Of course, nobody else was there at that time except few brahmacharis. And he took him to his room. And then he came to the sound system, pulled out all the wires. There were so many wires, black wires. So he pulled out all the wires. It was in a mess. Everything was tangled up. So he picked up, bound it in a bundle, and right in front of him threw it in the dustbin. And then he caught hold of his ears, pulled him to his room, gave him the money, and he said, by next week, next Sunday, I want every wire should be of different color. The mic, every mic should have, if it's one is a red color, one is a blue, one is green, one is yellow, whatever. So, and all the mics should have, all the wires should be nicely bound up and put rubber band so that it is not mixed up. And if the mic with a blue colored wire is not working, you know which one to set it up right. And then he Then he pulled the wire and he showed it to that fellow and he said, "Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is?" And that fellow was like, "It is a wire," obviously, because he couldn't say that. He was just like, looking at Maharaj, kya bol rahe? Why is he asking? And he said, he took the wire and he in his hand and he looked at the persons straight in the eyes and he said, "These are the arteries and veins of Harinam Prabhu. Do you understand?" So he treated them as a person, whether it is mridanga, covered over and it should be put in a stand. There we have a mridanga stand also in the temple. He said they should be put. There's an altar for that mridanga. You can't just keeping anywhere, everywhere, and it should be covered. They are Balram's expansion. And he said, "This is Harinam Prabhu." These are the veins and arteries of Harinam Prabhu. So that is something, you know. And also, when he found that the devotees were uncomfortable in the temple during the summer, he said, "Get a AC for the whole hall." So Gaurang Prabhu was standing next to him. He said, "Maharaj, if you put AC, everyone will go to sleep. Nice AC room." Maharaj said, "That's better that they sleep with the AC on and then they are comfortable at least." But it's a fact. After that, it was put, like jokingly we said, now it is official bona fide AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Hall. But after that, actually, like it is so peaceful and, hours of hearing can go on. Also, when the number of devotees increased in the temple and they were sitting outside here and there, he said we should extend the hall 20 feet. But then the municipal corporation could not get the permission. We could not get, to move Prabhupada back for 20 feet and extend the hall behind. So when that was not possible, uh, Maharaj moved the DTs 20 feet back. And all our bathrooms, everything went in another place. So just to accommodate all the devotees, they could be comfortably seated and peacefully do hearing and chanting. Also, when mothers with very newborn children, very young children, like 1 year old child, like that. So when they would come, because they didn't want to miss, especially children, I mean mothers with young children, they are hardly able to have good sadhana or hearing and chanting. So they would come to the temple, and if the little child started crying, invariably they would start crying. Everyone would be, like staring at them. So it was so embarrassing for those mothers to get up and in front of everyone take the child out. So Maharaj instructed us one part of the brahmachari ashram, one room. He said clear it out on Sundays, and this room should have a closed circuit TV and a speaker. And mothers with little children can comfortably sit here and take care of the children without disturbance to the people in the hall, and without disturbance to them also. So after that, we have as a policy now we made that for children, I mean, like mothers with very young children, they can sit there in that room. Also, there were old devotees, little aged devotees. There was one devotee, Kirtida Mataji, our mother-in-law of Murlidhar Prabhu and mother of Radharani Mataji. She used to do translation, but she was having difficulty. One day she told Maharaj. Maharaj said, "Where were you?" She said, "No, Maharaj, I can't sit down. I find it very difficult to sit because I have some leg problems." I said, "Oh, but we couldn't put the chair in the temple hall because the flooring was wooden and polished, so it gets scratch marks." So Maharaj immediately he ordered for permanent sofas. If you see in our temple, we have immovable achalam, immovable sofas that are put all around in the borders of the temple. That is for those devotees who are little aged and who have difficulties with sitting down. So whatever it took to see that devotees are comfortable, because they come all the way to hear and chant together at least once in a week. So or festivals. So that was the emphasis, and that was like the foundation. Today, that community is, has that eagerness to hear and chant, and you know, they also speak nowadays everywhere because they have heard so much. You have heard, then you can speak also. So that is something. That is the um, foundation of the house.